Hello guys, and welcome back to the last part of my GoldenEye 20th anniversary podcast. This is already the last part. Wow, this went really fast. I hope you've enjoyed it so far, and I hope you're going to enjoy the last podcast. Wow, this is like, I was really sad when I completed GoldenEye the rescore, and now I'm sad that this podcast is over as well. And we're just going to jump right into the last scenes, the big cradle fight. And I've watched this just before I started to make this video, and I really have to say that was not my best work. I mean, there are a lot of parts in the GoldenEye rescore that I'm really proud of, and that I still think now, a few years later, that still work and still sound decent. But this, the rescore of the end scenes is really not, It was like not hard to watch. That would be a little harsh, but yeah, it's not what I'm most proud of, what I did up to this day. So we're gonna jump right into the scene. It starts where Natalia and James Bond are in the elevator, and then James Bond, runs to the cradle, and then you see there's no music at all. You just see, where Alec goes to Boris. Everything is burning and everything is broken down, and yeah, then the thing starts. That's really where you see Natalia outside, with the helicopter, and then the whole thing starts. And I mean, you can hear how the music builds up in the background. And just as I watched it before, I made so many mistakes with this rescore of this last scene. I wanted to go big and broad, for the big finale. But I think it's a little bit too much, especially because I told you in the past episodes, and you never want to compete with sounds. And actually, it is funny, I just saw a interview with Harold Faltermeyer the last night, I think. Harold Faltermeyer was the guy who wrote the music for Top Gun, and I think he's mostly known for his Axel F theme, the Beverly Hills Cop theme. And actually, he gave a little insight on how scoring works in Hollywood, and he told that there's a certain, priority list. And of course, on top is the movie, the picture itself. Then he said the dialogue, then the sound effects, and the music comes, is like the very last part. And so he said you never want to compete. He basically, it was the same thing like I said in the last episodes. You never want to compete with dialogue, of course, never, because you don't want the audience to go like they have to concentrate to hear the dialogue, or even worse, when you don't get the dialogue at all. And it's the same about sound effects. And obviously, here's the big shootout with the Kalashnikovs, and the music is quite loud and intense there, with a lot of high frequency sounds like the trumpets, the trombones, and all of that. And yeah, so that's the first point why I'm not really satisfied with it. And when we go along, you just hear the shootout, and the music is just full blown, and this is something that I would do differently today. And it is slightly reminiscent, maybe if you're listening to it closely, it's slightly reminiscent of the cradle track from the Nintendo 64 game. That was like intentional. I wanted to do something that has the same kind of drive, and especially the drum and the bass is very, very similar to the cradle track in the Nintendo 64 game, just with an orchestra on top of it. But yeah, and then it cuts back to Boris still on the computer, and then the Bond theme kicks in as Pierce Brosnan, James Bond, runs through the cradle, and Alec chases him on the cradle. And the trumpets, I just listened to the trumpets, they sound really, they have some, I knew I had a big set of trumpets there, and they had, many of them had some kind of mutes, which produced this really weird sound. At that time I liked it, but now in retrospect I have to say it's really it sounds like almost like a fly or something. And also then, as the tenor's repositioning, you can hear those big French horn and trombone sections all muted, with muted sounds. And I think, yeah, I tried to double it up with some deep cello and bass strings, but still, when I listen to it nowadays, it sounds a little bit weird. I kind of understand what I wanted to do, but obviously the actual result is not that great. It's okay, but like I said, it's nothing that I'm really, really fond of. Plus, in the original movie, most of those scenes didn't have any music at all. But what you can hear, what I tried to do is, like I said beforehand as well in the previous episodes, is now everything is mono a mono. It's Bond against Trevelyan. There is no technology, of course. They're on the cradle, but that's only a set. And yeah, it really boils down to man versus man. So it's like strictly orchestra and natural instruments, as opposed to other scenes where you have a lot of technology stuff going on, which are also on the line with various synthesizers and, like I said, sound effects. And then there's the big fight, you know, inside that little cabinet within the cradle. And yeah, that was a scene that really took me days and days, because I didn't know how to score it. Actually, first I tried various things, you know, like percussion stuff. Didn't work out. Then I did some orchestral stuff, which didn't work out as well. And now I just stick to that. I pretty much, you know, the sound effects of the fight actually do all the work. So there's no music needed, I felt. Just except some little orchestral, yeah, like that, where you can hear the build-up when Alec points the gun at 007. And then there's the big ending scene. It's called Dropped, with some orchestral music, you know. Pam. There's just a little bit of tension music. Again, the orchestra samples are not that great, but it was really down to the technology that I had back then. Fortunately, these days, yeah, you know, I'm really fortunate to get better results, because, yeah, it's quite limited, because especially with the transition between the brass notes, you can hear, you know, some of the notes are not quite as delayed as I wanted them to be, and if I added too much delay, it sounded blurry. But and this actually, this only came to my attention once I started to rescore it. In the whole ending sequence, and I mean, that is really, like I said, I'm absolutely fond of Eric Serra. He's done an outstanding job, in my opinion, of marrying the sound and the movie together. But that was just weird. It never came to my attention, but once I started to rescore, I just saw that at the big ending climax scene, he just had like triangles and some weird synthesizer sounds, and that was it. That was the big finale music, and that was really weird, and it came to my attention. I just thought, that's really special. And I also heard, like, Eric Serra, he stated once in an interview that he was really upset with the producers because they mixed the music relatively silent compared to the other, you know, sound effects, dialogue, and all that stuff, because he said, you know, his music sometimes it is about the details, and if you mix it too silent in the overall mix, that gets lost. And it's actually true, especially when you listen to like the GoldenEye Overture, which is absolutely brilliant, and in the movie, it's in the mix, it's really, really silent. Yeah, and I thought just to go with a little orchestral stuff, you know, underlining the tension and the emotions there, really trying to make the scene more intense, you know, since, yeah, James Bond is hanging there on the verge of death, and you don't know who's gonna win, and so it was really about building up the tension. This again, I think, is a little bit better than the cradle fight. And then the GoldenEye burns. And then there's a reprise of the notes, you know, where it's really about the fight between 006 and 007. And then the helicopter, you know, closes in. And you have the big trumpet notes. I really like these, actually, because they're really scratchy and good. And now, pang! you can hear the timpani in the background, you know. For England James. And then Bond says, for me. And he falls. And of course there's no music there. It's just a scream that you hear, the helicopter noise, and then the crash symbol as he drops. Yeah, and Trevelyan turns his head. And then there's the big heroic moment, and that took me quite a while too to figure out a good heroic tune. Which was then... Yeah, there's still everything's blowing up, and then Bond jumps. Yeah, then there's the scene where, you know, they drop off. And there's a little romance going on. And I rather like that tune there. It's a little romantic James Bond version of the James Bond theme. And I think that's a really neat tune. I kind of like that. So, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got some background information about the whole project and a little bit of how it came about, how it worked, and how everything came together. And it was a really cool project, and it's now been, I think, 2 years that I've done it, and it's really a project that paid off because it got me very much nice comments. It's still my best-selling album. Many people wrote me, and also, you know, professionals and people who want to work together with me just because of that GoldenEye rescore. And that's why I also always say, you know what, and that was something that all the people, I've said this in some interviews that I did, many people told me, you know, like, why would you do this GoldenEye rescore? I mean, GoldenEye has music in it, it's an older movie, why would you waste time with it? It's just, you know, the project makes no sense and stuff like that. But I stuck to my guns, did it, and it really paid off, and I had just had a blast. And that's my advice to everybody who wants to do music and who wants to be, you know, composing stuff. Just do whatever you like, you know. Life's too short. Just do what you love. Do what you really, you know. Even if at the moment things, you know, look like unpromising or they don't promise you to get you anywhere and stuff like that. Just do what you love. I mean, it's music. It's all about emotions and feelings. And yeah, that's my little advice. So I hope you liked it. If you like what I do here on my YouTube channel, please tell your friends about it. Like, share, comment. I'm really always very thankful. Makes me very happy to get feedback and to get comments, to get likes and stuff like that. It's really like elevating me, and it's really a motivation. So keep doing it. You know, stick around a little longer. Check out the other stuff that I did. Also, if you got ideas for stuff that you'd like me to talk about or elaborate, just go for it. Comment. I mean, back when I started, which was around 2000, 2001, you know, internet and all that, Facebook, YouTube was not so big, but fortunately these days you can really get in touch with composers, and you can really get in touch with me, ask me stuff. I really love that kind of exchange and being close to people, and that's really fun. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Have a great time, and goodbye.